Do you have what it takes to succeed? Oh, if not, this might be the perfect time for you to finally, at last, take control of your business. It's time, right? You're tired of stress, you're tired of the strain, you're tired of the pain for too little gain. I know, I was there, believe me. It will not be revolutionary for me to tell you that if you do not implement systems to run your business, you will forever be trapped where you are now. There's no surprise there. You've heard me say it before, and some of you are thinking, well, no, with time, with experience, I'll figure it out. I'll gain confidence. I'll earn more money. No, you won't. No, you won't, rather. You've all heard me talk about the entrepreneurial myth with Michael E. Gerber, and you know my backstory. No systems, no success. Systems, success. Honestly, it is that simple. Nothing more complicated than that. And today, with this episode, hello, by the way, I'm going to ask you to consider yet another reason why you need systems. Aren't you glad you listened to Business of Design? We are going to be talking about Succession, not the TV show, although I'm told it was a lot of fun. It stressed me out. I watched like one episode. I'm like, oh, I don't like these people. It's stressing me out. So not the television show, but Succession, as in the ability to sell your business rather than walk away empty-handed with so many assets just laid to waste. Now, I know I've lost some of you. Some of you are like, no, I'm never going to sell my business. But I just want to challenge you to hang in there anyway and hear what our guest expert has to say. His name is Brad Farris. He's a smart guy. And I came away with some new insights that I think are helpful, whether or not you decide to sell your business. Brad is known for helping agencies and expert film owners grow through their limited barrier of income. So if they're $1 million firm, he helps them to get to the $3 million or $5 million mark. And he's done this for about 20 years. He's worked with lots of different agency owners to help them sharpen their focus and raise their prices. And a lot of what he deals with is completely applicable to the interior design business. So I wanted to have a conversation with him about how we can prepare ourselves for succession if we decide to go that path. And there is zero disadvantage, zero, for preparing yourself for that and then not going for it with some sort of succession plan. You'll still do better. You'll still make more money. You'll still have happier clients. So it's a win-win. Brad can be reached, by the way. I know you're going to love him, so I'm going to give you his information. But as always, all the information is in the show notes at businessofdesign.com. It's BL Ferris at anchoradvisors.com. And he's also on LinkedIn as well. Brad really has me rethinking my own strategy. Now, just a couple of quick things before we jump into the episode. At some point in the episode, you're going to hear Brad and I discuss the word succession. And I say, because I'm a genius, don't you know, is it succession or secession? I confuse myself with the two terms. I thought maybe it had to do with the British spelling versus an American spelling, but it turns out no, they are totally different words. They are spelled completely differently. Succession, what we're talking about today, Succession, so success, refers to the act of following an order, like if you're in line for an inheritance, the TV show, or if there's going to be a change of leadership to the ownership of a company, what we're talking about today. While secession is spelled totally differently, which is helpful to me because I'm a visual learner, Secession, and that's the withdrawal or separation from a group. So if you live in Canada, you've heard Quebec say they're going to secede from Canada. If you live in the United States, every time Trump is elected, you hear California say, we're going to secede from the United States. Of course, neither of those two things are going to happen, but it helps me remember the difference between those two words. And the second note I'm going to share is this one. We hear two excuses frequently at Business of Design for why a business owner would put off doing what they know they need to do in order to get their business working more efficiently and more effectively. The first is this excuse: I'm too busy. I have so much work right now. I don't have any time to work on my business. The second, polar opposite, I'm not busy enough. I don't have enough clients. I can't afford to do this right now. You see the problem, right? So for some of us, there's always going to be an available excuse why we can't do the work right now, right? Work is too busy, work is too easy. And the reason that's true is because the work that we're talking about, implementing new systems to run your business, seems overwhelming. It seems scary. It seems hard. But the truth is, between these two excuses, if you're too busy and you simply refuse to make time to work on your business, there's some legitimacy then to that excuse. But my goodness, if you're not busy enough, this is tragic, because right now you have a golden opportunity to work on your business. You have the time you need. And unless you're sure you're never going to have another client, this is the only perfect time you will ever have to work on your business. And you know how it is. It's like an actor waiting for a part. All it takes is one phone call or one email, and boom, suddenly you're busy again. So really, I'm begging you, don't waste this opportunity. It's time to take control of your business. It's time to implement those systems you know you need. I guarantee, I'm using the word guarantee, okay? I guarantee I can make you happier. I can make your business thrive. I can help you with profitability. And I say I, but of course, there's a whole team behind Business of Design, and you do the hard work. We show you what to do, you implement, and it's really not that hard. Is once you surrender and you just say, I'm just going to do it the way that they're telling us to do it, it works. And I know that it works because thousands of other people have done it and tell us it works. So please join Business of Design today. And if you're really serious about life-changing business renewal or growth, then sign up for the retreat in Santa Monica. You are going to leave with an entirely new perspective and a brand new lease on work and life. And yes, we are going to hear from Brad Farris. The conversation's really fun. Brad will be back. I really liked him a lot. Quick announcements from Cheryl and right into the show. And thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Kimberly. Well, I think Kimberly covered most of it, but really everything you need to know is at businessofdesign.com. If you don't visit the website regularly, please check that out. Click on membership in the main navigation to find out what's included with membership, find out what it is we teach through Business of Design, and sign up, join us. We would love to have you. Click on retreat and then join us Thursday, October 16th to Sunday, October 19th in Santa Monica, California. We are going to do a deep dive into your P&L. We are going to send you some homework in advance. We want to know what's challenging you in your business and what you want to accomplish over the year that follows. And we are going to cater the learnings to the group that attends. We would love to have you there. And then as well, if you're a regular listener to the podcast, head to the website. I know most of our listeners do tune in through wherever you stream your favorite podcasts, but head to the website, click on podcasts. There's always more information in the show notes, including details on all of our guests and how to get in touch with them. And in a lot of cases, relevant learnings based on what you've heard on the podcast. If you want to learn more, how you can do that through Business of Design. So there's so much there. And as always, if you have questions, if you want to know more, if you just want to have a conversation to figure out what is the right fit for you, reach out to me, Cheryl at Business of Design, and I'm happy to set up a time to talk. Thanks so much.
Brad Farris, my papaya eating friend, how are you?
I'm well, Kimberly. How are you?
Good. Every time somebody jumps on the podcast in order to check their sound levels, we say, "What'd you have for breakfast?" And you said papaya.
I did. Yes.
Do you like slice it? How does one tackle a papaya in the morning?
So these are Mexican papayas. They're like the size of a football. And so, yeah, I take a slice and I cut it up into chunks and I mix it with some yogurt and some almonds. Delicious.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so good. This question has given me so many good ideas of what to have for breakfast.
Breakfast ideas are hard, aren't they? Like once you get past like the easy stuff,
yeah,
it gets hard.
I think so. And I get in these ruts where I used to eat the same breakfast for 2 years until I'm like, if you even come close to me with a green smoothie, I will throw it at your head. I can't do it another minute. But we're not talking about breakfast this morning. No.
Nope.
way more important stuff. And I can't decide, Brad, you have your resume, everything you've done. I can't decide if we should head down the path of anchoring, because I obviously the name of your company, so that's
Yes.
got to be a thing. But I'm
Yes.
dying to talk about succession plans as well.
Well, let's start there. There's plenty to
Let
talk about there, and
I
we'll probably come
agree.
back around to some anchoring topics.
Okay, let's do a spoiler alert right off the top. What one thing are people doing that is really ruining their chances of succession?
Ah, staying involved in the client work.
Ding, 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 ding.
The more of your time that is spent on client work,
Yes.
the slower your business will grow, and the less likely it is that you're going to be able to get out of it successfully.
Oh my gosh. I want you to say it again because right now there are people going, wait a minute, I'm the only person. So it's probably you're not thinking about succession if you're the only person, but if you even have one employee, say it again.
So the more involved you are in client work, the less time and energy you have to do the job of being the CEO or the president of the organization.
Right,
And if you're not going to do that job, nobody else is going to do it.
right.
And so the job of the president or the CEO is to look to the future and to build an organization that is going to be successful in the future. And that is the beginning of succession planning. So if you want to grow your design firm, if you want to exit it someday, you need to let go of the client work a little bit at a time, but over time, get yourself down to 20% or less of your time in
It
client.
sounds like what you're saying is we need to spend more time going to yoga and Pilates and vacation and making sure the company can run without us. That
I am a
sounds
fan of yoga and Pilates and all of that stuff.
right.
And that may be part of it. I mean, there's certainly I will speak for myself. Maybe your life was different, but when I was in my 20s and 30s, I spent more time focusing on work than making myself healthy. And as I got maybe a
Totally.
little more mature, I realized that doing some of those things actually helped me to be better at work, right? So
Yeah.
there is some of that. Maybe you just need to back off of the 24/7 work cycle.
Right.
But more importantly, the genius that allows you to deliver those good results to clients has to become a system or a process that someone else can do. Otherwise, as soon as you retire, the value that your business is creating no longer exists.
Right. If you're the only value, there's no value.
That's right.
Ah, okay. Thanks for coming. That's
Sure. Yeah, it's been
no,
good.
no. Okay. So the thing is, too many interior designers don't consider succession. They just think they're going to die at their desk. They're going to
That's right.
be servicing their last exhausting client. And right, like, and certainly, you said in your 20s and 30s and even my 40s, I didn't have time for exercises because I was too busy working,
Yep.
working, working,
Yep.
working. And whatever little time I had left over was family and friends, and mostly family, very few friends, was work, 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 work.
Yes. Yes.
The more systems I added, the more freedom I had, and the more I could allow someone else to do the thing that would allow me to sit back and be the CEO for a minute.
So there's a giant piece of irony there. Can I
Yeah.
just serve up a big scoop of irony?
Ah, thank you.
Most of us started our businesses because we were looking for freedom. We wanted to have time to do things when we wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And yet we often are building businesses that put us right back in that 9 to 5 or 7 to 6 or however long you want to do it.
9 to 5? Are you kidding me? Right? No, no word of a lie. It's like 7 a.m. till, 2 a.m. with
I
maybe some hours off to feed the kids and put them in bed.
I worked with some clients recently. It was two partners that owned a firm together, and our original goal for them was that they wouldn't work on Sundays anymore. And they were both like, can we just start with
I,
half of Sunday? What if we just don't work for half of Sunday? I'm like,
oh my gosh.
however you want to start, but you're going to work less. That's the thing.
I remember telling my husband, I'm going to take 3 weeks of vacation this year. And he literally, his words were, I would settle for one Saturday.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
But there's no way around it. Like every podcast, leads to the conclusion that without systems, it ain't happening. Whatever the thing is, whatever it is, it's not happening without systems. You've got to have systems. That's where business of design comes in. Let's say you've been with business of design, you've implemented the systems, you know that it's possible to get yourself out of the equation. Like business of design has a 15-step process. I'm involved in 3 of the 15 steps.
Yes.
That's it.
Right.
3. And the other ones I oversee, sure, but I'm not really in the day-to-day grind,
No.
right? Got to have the systems. And if you're thinking about succession, you've got to be constantly checking that you can get yourself out of the equation and your company can still run.
Your
Like
business
that's
will be worth more if you take that 3-week vacation, because that proves to the buyer that the business can run without you.
right.
And so if you're really serious about leaving the business at some point, start taking some longer vacations.
Right.
And it's a stress test. Yeah, things are going to break while you're gone. Okay, so then you come back and you say, okay, how do we make sure that doesn't happen again? And then you take another vacation. Oh,
Yeah.
look, something else broke. Okay, well, let's fix that. And so it's just a process of learning how to let go and how to it, I don't know why this is exactly, but when I talk to owners, they're like, well, if I left, my team doesn't really take things seriously. They don't have the ownership. I'm like, but they
Mm.
will if you leave.
If you leave them alone, they will. It's like when you have a baby and you are gonna, for the first time, leave the baby with your husband. I'm just, this is stereotypical, but this was my life. Leave the baby with your husband. And I had friends who created these elaborate lists and told them exact. I'm like, bye, have a good
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
see ya.
yeah.
And then I came home and he's like, he figured it all out. He
Everybody
didn't,
was alive, you know. The
right?
onesie was on backwards, but who cares, you know?
Okay, I figured it out, right? And my friends who were writing those lists wrote those lists until the kids were,
Forever.
25.
That's
And
right.
like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And that it's exactly the same thing with your business.
It is. It is.
Wow.
And it's the there's some things here that are coming back to the anchoring part. Uh, it is normal for it to be hard for you to let go. That is a
Mm.
totally normal thing.
Yeah,
This business is something that you really care about. You've put a lot of your heart and soul and energy into making it successful.
right.
And for many of us, our ego feels really good that we're the only one that can do this.
Right, right.
And so there are psychic rewards and financial rewards for taking care of every little thing in the business.
Yeah.
Um, and
The song Stroke Me, Stroke Me. Who's that song? That sort of comes to mind when you said that. What song is that?
I don't know.
It sounds like an 80s moment. It's true though. You start thinking like I am all powerful. I'm the only one who can
That's
get this
right.
done.
That's right.
I might as well do it myself.
That's
And
right.
that is just a trap.
It is. And it feels good in the moment. And
Yeah.
then, it's 9 o'clock at night and you're doing another layout and you're thinking, why am I here? This is not how the life that I want to live.
Yeah.
And so there's that push pull of, do I want to have control or do I want to have freedom? And you can't have both. And so there is a process there of finding some things that are easier to let go. That you start in, for many people, it starts with bookkeeping or accounting. Like,
Mm.
how about you let go of that? Because
Yeah.
you're not very good at it.
True.
And
Right?
right. And then it might be
You've
ordering
been
and
reading my diary.
there are some
And
things there that are easy to peel off, and then we can
yeah.
work on the harder ones after you have some success with setting up some systems and getting some things out of your head.
Yeah. Drawing. You said bookkeeping, drawing, procurement,
Procurement for
uh,
sure.
client on-site visits, project management, on-site project management. That was a really, really hard one to let go of. But boy, oh boy, did that feel good?
Oh my gosh,
I
yes.
was not the person who had to go to every job site visit.
And that is an easy one to kind of create some process around of
Yeah,
what pictures need to be taken, what questions need to be asked.
yeah,
You can make checklists out of that. And a young person who's new in their career, this is very exciting for them to go to the job site and do that
yeah.
stuff. Whereas for you, it's like, oh, I can't do that again.
Yeah. It's going back to the parenting metaphor. I wish that when I had launched my business, I had been thinking that my job was similar to my job as a parent. Your job as a parent is to make sure your children don't need you anymore.
Yes.
That's your job.
That's success.
And right, that is success. And if you are constantly coming to their aid and keeping them, attached to you and, taking away their autonomy, they won't be grown-ups ever. And
That's right.
that is exactly what I did for so many years to my business. I made it dependent on me
That's
instead
right.
of, hey, look what I was able to create and let go of.
Yes. Yeah. We see those people who are working really close to the bone in their businesses. They feel successful. But from the outside, that doesn't look successful. What looks successful is the person who can play golf every Friday and their
Right.
business runs just fine, right? That is actually what success looks like.
Yeah, yeah. And that person is like one busted knee away from disaster,
Oh, for sure. Or,
right?
you know, the one of the things that I say to a lot of people is that the most important risk in your business is your physical or mental health.
Mm.
If you can't go, your business topples over unless you've built systems that allow it to be more resilient. So
Right.
for those people that are really in it, that are doing all the client work themselves, you're you're walking on thin ice because uh, we can't stay healthy all the time. That's just
Right.
not something that happens, particularly if you're not taking care of yourself.
Right. So true. So I wish I had had this information in my, I launched my business, I was 30. I wish I had had the information then. I didn't. Is it too late if you're 40, 50, 60? Is it too late to start? I don't think so either.
No, not at
No.
all.
He's
Yeah.
shaking his head no if you're just listening. That was a silent but emphatic no.
Whenever you're ready. Now, the things that make so more mature business owners there's a push and a pull here, right? We have habits that are hard to break. And
Mm,
so we're going to have to learn new ways of doing things. On the other
right,
hand, we're tired and we don't have the energy that we used to have. And so
right.
there are some natural limits that are starting to talk to us about doing things differently.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, so I think we started with like the big thing,
Yeah,
the big, haha, here's the one that's going to trip you up. If you don't get
that's right.
yourself out of the day-to-day running of your business, you can't sell your business.
That's right.
What other things should we think about in terms of succession planning?
So there are really three likely buyers for any business. Design business, it doesn't matter, any business. There are financial buyers who are buying it as an asset. Um, there are strategic buyers who are buying it not so much because of the economic value in the business, although that's important, but because of what it does for their business to add you into it.
Mhm.
And then there's an internal purchase. You're selling it to employees or to, your kids are taking it over or something like that. For financial buyers, in order for them to be interested, you have to be quite large in design firm business context.
Mhm.
You really need to have $1 million in free cash flow. You're probably a 10 million, $8 million business, something like that to do that. There are design firms that can do that,
Yep.
but that's not the majority of the people listening, probably. Um, Financial buyers have a completely different way that they look at a transaction. And when I'm talking to an owner that's the kind of transaction we're looking for, there's a very specific conversation about that. But I'm going to leave that to the side for now.
Okay.
Strategic buyers are the more likely buyer for probably most of the agencies that we're talking about. And um, the strategic buyer is an architecture firm who wants to add design to their portfolio, or it's a design firm in Florida who noticed that they have a whole bunch of clients coming from Chicago, and so they want to have a foothold in Chicago to meet those clients before they move to Florida.
Right.
So it's geographic differences, or it's entering into different markets. A residential firm that wants to play more in the hospitality space, and so they buy a hospitality firm in order to have more of that diversity.
Right. Makes
Those are
sense.
the strategic buyers. The thing about strategic buyers is we don't know when they're going to go shopping.
Mm.
uh, Buying a business is not something that anybody does every day. It's probably you're going to do it probably once in your life. The buyer might do it two or three times. So what we need, just like when we're trying to sell design services, we need to meet a bunch of people who might be possible buyers someday. And so being intentional about meeting those people who could be strategic partners for you, there's a good solid business reason for having these relationships,
Mhm.
but being intentional about starting to meet those people and have conversations with them and stay in touch with them so that on the day that they say, we really need to add some design capability, you're going to come to mind. You're going to be a person that
Right.
they would want to reach out to about that.
And you do meet them in your, you often, we're hired sometimes for a job where there's already an architect in place
Exactly.
or already a development firm in place. So you meet those people, but you can also use that, you can use those networking opportunities to meet them as well. And, let's go for coffee. Let's talk about, what I'm
Let's
thinking.
talk
What are you
about your
thinking?
business. What drives your business? What drives my business?
Yeah.
Elevating the conversation beyond just the project to, we're both business owners that have long-term objectives.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting.
And then the third, that internal purchase, that's a very common way that businesses are succession planning happens. This requires an even longer time horizon, however. None of these are things that you can do in 3 weeks. The financial buyer is probably a 6 month to a year process. The um, the strategic buyer is like a 3 to 5 to 7 year process. You need to start, as my father would say, you need to dig the hole before you need the water. Um, and then internally, it's probably even a longer process where you're really training people to have the skills that they're going to need to run the business
Right.
and being fairly intentional about teaching them about parts of the business that they don't need to know about.
Right, right. That can be challenging. That I have found that that part is somewhat challenging as well.
Yeah, selling to an internal buyer, uh,
I
it's
would,
the least reliable of the of the options.
my girlfriend, who's a criminal lawyer, she had been grooming is that's an uncomfortable word these days. But anyway, she had been teaching this younger man about her business for many, many years. And they had
Yes.
a contract and he was taking it over. And it was a years long on ramp. And he pulled out like hours
Oh,
before it was done. Can you imagine? He's just like, nah, I don't think I can handle the stress. Wait, what? So, but I would say most interior design firms, probably the majority of them would fall into that. I'm going to pass it on to an employee.
yeah,
Yeah.
or a group of employees.
Or group of
Yeah.
employees. Yeah.
And there are some ways to mitigate the challenge that your friend had.
Mm,
Um, we will often create long-term compensation schemes that will allow the junior people to start to buy into the firm earlier on. And so they're
right.
invested in making the transition at some point.
Right.
And when I say buying in, I'm not selling them actual stock. We would set up like a phantom stock program so that it acts like real stock, but you're not actually sharing ownership with them. They don't necessarily have to look at the books. You're not giving them distributions or any of those types of
Right.
things.
Yeah, that to me makes the most sense. And then you have this nice long on ramp,
Yes.
on ramp for the employee, off ramp for you,
Yes.
where there's slowly but surely things are being transitioned. And once they've invested a certain amount of money, it's more likely they're going to go forward. That's really true.
Yeah.
Are there certain things you need to look for in your business besides not being involved in every single step that would put you in a place to be able to pass it on to somebody?
So, I'm going to talk about business valuation in general, and then we can talk about how this works for design firms.
Okay.
Businesses are more valuable when they have long-term contracts where we can depend on the income coming in year after year after year.
Mhm.
They're more valuable when they have a track record of growth so that over 3 to 5 years, you're seeing them get larger year after year. And they're more valuable when they generate a lot of cash flow. Because if you think about someone who's investing in the business, they want to know that they can get their money back. And so the more cash flow there is, the more money they're willing to spend on that business.
Okay.
So design firms don't have a lot of long-term contracts. Um, However, you might have referral sources or clients that come back, if it's commercial clients or hospitality where you're getting repeat work from the same clients year after year. And so you
Hmm.
can demonstrate that although there's not a contract, there's a reasonable assumption that this business is going to go forward.
Right.
And so looking to position yourself in those places where you have those longer term client relationships make your business more valuable.
Okay. And is your reputation in the industry where you live locally, does that matter?
It does to an extent. What you would have to demonstrate is that that reputation results in making the phone ring.
Mm.
So, what if we really are monetizing, what does reputation mean? It means that you're getting referrals primarily,
Right.
right?
Right.
And uh, and hopefully you're getting a track record of referrals from the same sources over time. Whether it's a realtor or whether it's a contractor or architects, where so that implies the same thing as a contract. Like I'm getting regular work from these people time and time again.
So that's an important thing to be aware of, to tap into those relationships and get those outside sources to refer to you, not just rely on, local marketing.
Yeah. I mean, uh, things that do have value, if you have search traffic, you can somewhat monetize that search traffic. Um, Oftentimes I've sold just a phone number, like for contractors a lot of times, their phone numbers on a lot of signs or stickers on the back of the appliances or whatever it is. People will buy the phone number just knowing that that phone is going to ring over time.
Oh my God, I
And
love
so
that.
those like when you buy a business, you're looking at it very differently than you are when you're operating it. You're really looking for what is the thing that has value here. And if I've advertised in the market and my name is well known, that's interesting, but unless it's actually producing some income, then it's not really that valuable.
Right. And for anyone listening who's thinking about this, thinking that you may, wow, one day I really would like to sell my business. What happens? I presume that they would give you a call
Sure.
and you would run through what series, a checklist, some of the things that they need to do. How does it work?
So one of the challenges is, as I just talked um, earlier, if you want to retire this year and you call me this year, our options are very limited,
You
right?
can retire with no buyer.
Yes, exactly. You can retire, you just might not have a lot
Enjoy.
of money to do
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So having a little bit of lead time where we're going to work on some of these things over time is the best way to ensure a transition.
Okay.
But what we're going to talk about are values at the beginning.
Okay.
So there are three things that we can preserve when we're selling a business. We can either get you the most amount of money for your business, or we can preserve the legacy of your business, or um, we can pick the day on which you want to retire. And really, you can only do one of those. If you want to retire on a certain day or week or year, you're probably going to accept less money.
Right.
If you care about the name of the firm surviving, it eliminates certain options. If you want to get the most money, we can do that, but that's going to mean that we're going to market the business over a longer period of time. We're going to accept terms and things that we might not want. And so the first thing we're talking about is what is it that you want to preserve coming out of here?
Okay. I know this group. I love you and I'm one of you. If you're listening, I swear I know you. But there's not a single one who's like, I want money. Like, I wish we were wired like that. God, we're just not. We're just not.
At the end of people's career, sometimes that develops because they realize they've worked for 25 or 35 years, and
Yeah.
this is the thing that they have in order to fund the rest of their lives. And
But
sometimes money becomes more important at that
I
point.
hope it becomes more important sooner. I wish it had become more important sooner for me.
I
It
would agree
did
with you.
ultimately become important, but it took me a long time.
Yes.
Before we go another step further with
Yes.
this, is it succession or secession? Because at the beginning of the show, I said something about a secession plan, and then I said succession, and I flipped and flopped, and I heard you say secession.
I
What
call it secession. I don't know what the dictionary would say. That's a good question.
what was the TV show called?
Secession. Well, I don't know. No, I don't know.
We are not experts in this topic at all because we don't even know how to say it.
Not
Okay, so
linguistic experts for sure.
those are we're dog sitting. Those are my grand dogs in the background. You
Oh,
heard
amazing.
barking.
What kind?
I think one's a Frenchie and one's an English, and I'm pretty sure the English is trying to tell me it's succession or secession. I'm not sure because I don't speak bulldog, but I know that there's there's two ways to say it. I bet it goes back to British and American.
It
I
probably
bet you
does.
that's what it is.
Because C's are pronounced differently in the UK than they are here.
Yeah. Schedule instead of
Yes,
schedule.
exactly.
So
Schedule.
I have a feeling that we've solved it. And none of that's important for the
That's
topic that we're talking about. What have we left anything out of this conversation besides like think about it sooner? Get those systems implemented. If you don't have them, you're cooked. It's not happening. But also do think about it. Like most interior design firms are like, I don't know. Those who are making, is there a number you should be thinking about, like at a minimum that you should be generating in order to even think about this?
So let me back up for a second in the let's all think about it.
Okay.
There is one option that I didn't include, which is a perfectly viable option, which is that you decide someday that you don't want to do this anymore and you just liquidate the business. You
Okay.
collect all your receivables, you take all the money out of the bank, you sell off whatever bits and pieces that you have lying around. And if that's what you want to do, that's no judgment there. I
Mhm.
mean, you can do that. Um, when we think about selling a business, the way we sell it typically is on a multiple of cash flow. And so I mean, this is a very broad generalization, but think about a business having about 10% of sales being their cash flow. So if it's $1 million business, you're making $100,000 in cash flow at the end of the day.
Okay.
And we can adjust some things out of that. So one thing that you should think about is not running so many of your personal expenses through the business as you're
Right.
getting ready to sell, because you want to
Oh,
maximize the cash flow. And so,
right.
yes, you're going to pay more taxes, but you're going to make a multiple of that when you sell it. And so, starting to pull some of those personal expenses out as you get toward when you're ready to sell.
Making a note.
So, most businesses in the size range that we're talking about for design firms are going to sell between 4 and 6 times cash flow. So that $100,000 in cash flow will earn you a $500,000 sale on your business.
Okay.
Um, which is why if you take $10,000 of personal expenses out, you're going to get $50,000 back. So it's worth paying taxes for a couple of years on that to get the
Mm.
larger value when you sell.
Right.
So the multiple of cash flow thing tells us it's hard to get transactions done that are really small. Most really small transactions under a half a million or even under a million are often sold on a contingent basis. And so you sell the business to someone, they pay you a little bit of money up front, and then you earn a percentage of the revenue over the next couple of years.
Okay.
And so that's an easy way to get a transaction done with a competitor or with a strategic buyer.
Okay. And that what they're kind of checking for is that the value you say is in the business is actually in the business.
And right. And if they're worried that pulling you out makes the business worthless,
Right.
then they're protecting against that by if we pull you out, does it go away? If it does,
Right.
then we don't pay you.
Right.
Right.
Right. That makes sense to me. Um,
For larger businesses, if the enterprise value is 1 million or more, now there are other ways that we can structure those deals, but there's probably still going to be some earnout. So you're going to sell the business, but you're still going to be part of the business for a couple of years to maximize the value of the transition, to move the relationships over.
okay. No matter where you sit in this conversation, if you're thinking this is something you really want to do or something you there's that's not for you, there are still some smart things you could take advantage of in the conversation. And one of them is just making sure you have those systems and making sure that you can leave the business and it can still run without you, even if you're not going to sell it, because it's so freeing to be able to go on vacation for 3 weeks and know everything is running and not be checking your email every 12 seconds and right and not have clients panicked because you're not there. They know everything is running smoothly. One of the things that shocked me when I hired a business coach, and I had many coaches for like a decade in order to clean up my bad habits. But one of the things that really shocked me is when an employee left or we let someone go, this business coach said, go look at their email
Mm-hmm.
and see how many emails they have. And I reported back on this one. And I'm like, she has like no emails. And she goes, yeah, because you're doing all the freaking work.
She
She's
isn't
doing
doing
nothing.
anything.
She has no responsibility at all. And so what she taught me is the boss should have the fewest emails, not the
Yes.
most emails. I
That's right.
had real, like, I mean, this is pathetic, but judge me all you want, but I had real pride that I had 1,000 emails in my inbox. I, if you knew how much I was doing every day, blah. And now I'm like, don't have the most. I really don't have the most.
I mean, right there, you can see that connection to being the hero, to putting out the fires, to being
Yeah.
the person that's making it all happen. And as you experienced, we can have that, and that can feel really good, but it is not going to get you the most money. It's not going to be the
No.
thing that's going to give you the freedom that you're looking for.
Ugh, and I do like freedom. I just do.
One of the things I tell clients is the goal of the CEO is to make fewer decisions every year because more and more of the decisions are being made by the team. You've built the systems and the values so that they know what decisions to make. And the only thing that's coming up to you are the edge cases, the really, really big ones and the really, really messy ones.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a weird moment in your life, at least it was for me, when I let an employee make a decision. I didn't think it was the right decision. And I just shut my mouth and just see what happens. And you know what? Happens usually, not disaster. Not disaster.
I love
Different.
it when I'm working with the clients and they have that moment and they're like, I don't think this is the right decision, but I'm going to let them do it. And it
Yeah.
turns out even better than they thought.
Sometimes it's like I was totally wrong, they were totally right, and other times like that didn't go so well. What do you think you learned from that?
There you go.
What are you going to
Exactly.
do next time? Yeah, those moments are invaluable. Will
Yes,
you come back on another episode and talk to us about anchoring?
absolutely.
You swear?
Yes,
Pinky
100%.
swear? Papaya
Pinky
swear?
swear.
Okay, we like to end every episode with something we call design intervention. Just a great piece of advice you want to leave everybody with.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be related to this topic. It could just be business advice.
I think the thing that I would want people to think about is um, to think about flow, that state where everything is going well, time has kind of stopped, things are easy because you're in that creative, open kind of exploring space. And as creative people, that's what we love to do, right? Is to be in that flow state. And look at your calendar and say, how often am I in that state? And in particular, where on this calendar am I in that flow state and where am I miles away from it? And start thinking how you can optimize your days to have more of your time in that flow state and less of your time in that angry, defensive, questioning, enforcing kind of state.
I love
That's
that.
probably not where you're being most effective.
Yeah, it's probably not where you're spending most of your time, but wouldn't it
Right.
be good? Brad, thank you so much. This was
Sure.
amazing.
Let's do it.